We will now reconvene the council meeting for June 23rd. We are rising from closed session with the following report. The council amend the terms of reference for the task force to allow for the complement to be increased to 4 members of the public, and that the appointments include John Culver, David Lundergan, Stephanie Gorman, and Bill Slavin to fulfill the complement to form the Downtown Park and remaining CMC Lands Task Force. Moving on, do we need a mover and a seconder for that? Councilor Byrne, Deputy Mayor Huntley, all in favor? That is approved. Congratulations to all those appointees, and thanks for putting your name forward. Nice to have a full complement and then some. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation from Sean Morey from the Peterborough Humane Society. Sean, over to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of council and staff. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thought I would spend a few moments with you today just to give a quick brief overview of the services that we've been providing over the past year with our service agreement with the Township of Cavan Monaghan and the Peterborough Humane Society. So just a real quick brief introduction of who we are. So obviously established, we've been a charity since 1941. We originally started as a volunteer-based organization that took in basically stray and abandoned animals within the city and county of Peterborough and all the servicing townships associated with that. Over the past 80 plus years, we've evolved into a full service organization that supports both providing animal care, shelter, humane education, and community support for 6 out of the 8 municipalities within the county of Peterborough and the city of Peterborough as well. Just a quick little brief identifier of our mission. So we are to be the voice for animals through community outreach, humane education, and adoption. Sole focus is obviously to keep pets and people together, supporting the human-animal bond, and making sure that we provide services to protect pet overpopulation, but also through accessible services such as access to care, veterinary resources, and so on and so forth. So quickly, our mission is just it envisions a world of compassion for animals and their well-being to be ingrained in the fabric of society. So that's what we're working with all of our partners to try and provide. It's not necessarily the old focus of just hosting and providing impound services or pound services for animals. It's providing premium care and services through not only the services that we provide through our staffing, but also our state-of-the-art facility now, the Peterborough Animal Care Center. And just briefly, I'll touch on the values, but this is fully supportive of the things that we are doing to support the Township of Cavan Monaghan. It's obviously fostering connection and inclusivity within our community, providing respect for individuals with empathy, and supporting animal well-being, and excellence in care and services. So as you've probably heard and seen, the Peterborough Humane Society has evolved a lot over the past 3.5 years, essentially the last 3 years since we've been inside of our new animal care center. And so we've been really focusing on it. And obviously the goal is to prevent essentially animals from coming into our center. And that is through providing more humane educational programs, but also working with partners like Cavan Monaghan and such to support not only bylaw enforcement, but ways that we can support the community members with access to care services, whether it be wellness services, spay neuter, providing other programs that you'll see here in my presentation momentarily, that just allows that human animal bond to be a little bit more ingrained. And also if we can keep animals and their humans together, it creates less overpopulation within our communities. So just a quick little overview of the services that we provide to the township. As you can see, animal intake and support services, that's through, obviously impound, but also supporting folks that are calling in with regards to a stray animal. Adoptions, our Safe Nights for Pets program, which is obviously an anonymous program, but what that does is a program that we provide to all residents that we have agreements with that are either fleeing domestic abuse or violence or have become homeless due to unforeseen circumstances, whether it be flood, fire, and so on and so forth. Affordable wellness clinics, care and compassion programs for animals that require end-of-life services. We provide those as well. Humane education and outreach through our kids camps and other humane education programs, as well as emergency animal support services. So we'll work with local veterinarians and emergency clinics as we need to provide those services if an animal from this municipality comes into our center and needs emergency support. We provide those services as well. And just a quick little brief overview of what the impact that we've provided over the past year. So we've had 58 stray animals come into the center through the past, since we, I guess, established this agreement back in April of last year. So 8 surrenders have been rehomed. 312 residents have accessed our spay and neuter services, which is fantastic. So it's good to see that. And just a quick plug on that one. We actually, last week, we just surpassed 10,000 surgeries in just over 2.5 years, which is a pretty fantastic thing. Also, 75 animal owners from the township accessed our wellness clinics and services. So that could be from a wide variety of services, whether it be rabies, flea and tick preventative, heartworm, parvo prevention, giardia, and all types of other things. So I don't know if I can detail it enough, just how important that is, just around obviously herd health and community health as well. So if we can eradicate or try and provide those kind of support services to the residents of Cavan Monaghan as we move things forward, it's going to mean healthier pets within your community. It's going to mean less risk on both the residents and their pets, and so that's what we're excited to do moving forward. And so I know that obviously the question is, where does our investment go? Obviously, we know we've got a services agreement. So where does this support go towards? So it's clearly right directly into the staffing and animal care for those 48 animals that came into our building, but also being able to provide those services as well to members of the community as they need them. Obviously, facility and operations, including utilities, and not to mention, obviously, on top of that as well, just the overall insurance of having, a center like this in place where we can support the community members, access to veterinary services through our clinic and wellness programmings, community outreach and education. So there is a number of residents within the township that whose kids come in and use our PAWS program, and actually our kids camps and so on and so forth, which is fantastic. PA days, you name it. And then obviously a little bit goes towards our infrastructure and making sure that there's continuous improvements to make sure that it is kept up to snuff and that we support the animals in our care. And so, yeah, that essentially is it in a nutshell. Obviously, we're proud to continue this partnership and this relationship with the residents of Cavan Monaghan. We see great value in it, as I hope you do as well. This is all about building a compassionate, supportive community moving forward, and we're excited to be part of it. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Sean. That's excellent information. Nice to get a bit of feedback and report about the uptake with regards to the provision of services that are available through the Humane Society. So thanks for that. Questions, members of council? Deputy Mayor Huntley.
Through your chair to Sean, and just want to say thank you for providing such a great service, and it continues. I'm very happy to see that the number is low. And I'm actually a little bit surprised considering, the amount of, corporations that have taken over vet clinics lately, and, the rising costs of maintaining pet health. So it's very encouraging to know that you guys your numbers are still, you're not being exploded because of, just the financial burden that it is, can be to maintain some of these animals now that the world has gone more corporate in the vet side of things. So it's good to see. Thank you.
Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Sean. I was just curious that representation of our population of animals that ended up at your clinic. We don't have bylaws for cats. I'm kind of curious how you ended up with so many cats. But out of that, the surrenders, how many of these animals in total would be relocated, or how's that work in the big scheme?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So with regards to the overall number of surrenders, I'll talk about the first part of it first with regards to the number of surrenders that were set for rehoming. Those are established, and I can actually gladly say that all 8 of those animals have been rehomed into other active homes, which is fantastic. So that's part of the rehoming process, right? So if folks fall into a scenario where either for whatever circumstance, whether it's you changing jobs or relocating or just life circumstances, we have a service that has the ability to take in that animal, care for it, put it back up and available for adoption, and then move it forward from that standpoint. With regards to the stray cats within your municipality, I mean, that's an ever-growing circumstance, not just unique for Cavan Monaghan, that is everywhere within it. And so the majority of those are coming through either public access, so they would come and have public members drop off the animals to us directly, and then we provide those services for those animals.
Follow-up, Councilor Byrne?
Please, through the chair to Sean. So now when somebody comes in and adopts one of those animals that have got dropped off for whatever reason, there's another charge to those individuals on the point where they pick those animals up. Could you tell me any length of time that animals that were dropped off over the last calendar year would have stayed in your possession and before they get reallocated somewhere?
Sure, and through you, Chair. So our average time and length of stay within the Humane Society, so for dogs, we're at 47 days is kind of the average length of stay for dogs, and we're at about 39 days for cats. With that, also, I should mention too, that a number of animals, I would argue between 90 and 95% of animals that come into our care are essentially unaltered. So that means that they haven't been spayed or neutered. So we go through that full process. So every animal that comes into our facility gets a full intake. So they'll get, deworming, they'll get all of their kind of core vaccines to make sure that they're healthy in the first stage. Second stage, once we've reviewed them, they'll go through and get either their spay or neuter, which is part of our overpopulation and just kind of keeping the pet population at bay. They'll get that. Once they've recovered from that surgery, then they move forward with the adoption process. Cats is fairly quick for the most part in that regard. Dogs, it takes a little bit longer because we do have a fairly extensive adoption process to make sure that we are finding the right home for the right animal.
Follow-up again, Councilor Byrne?
Thank you. Through the chair, Sean. How would we rank as a township with some other areas that you support or look after? Would we be a problem? Would we be the small end of the scale? Where would we fit in?
Yeah, through you, Chair. No, it's definitely not a problem from that perspective. I would say that you're probably middle of the pack if I was to say it from that perspective. So we do have some larger service contracts and a lot more animals that come in from certain municipalities within the county of Peterborough. Yours would be on the medium to low scale as it sits currently with that regard. But that to me shows that the community within this township is really, really supportive of their animals and gets them home quick. If they do get out, plus obviously the collaboration with the animal control department that's here, they have the ability, because they know a lot of the residents, to get the animal back without them having to be intaked into our facilities.
Councilor Nacho?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just more a comment than a question there, Sean. Just wanted to just let you know the feedback that I get from the community of the work that you guys do is just first rate. The facilities are fantastic. We're really fortunate that the community has this facility available and the staff that you guys have. I've had a chance to see from before shovels went in the ground and where we are today, and we're really fortunate with our partnership of the services contract we have with you guys. So just want to say commendations to you and your staff, and keep up the good work.
Ms. Hurley?
Thank you. First off, thanks, Sean. Just a question. Could you expand a little bit on the wellness clinic? When you talk about vaccinations and extra services that you provide, could you just touch on that a little bit? Like, are you saying that for residents that may not have a veterinarian or services, anyone could come in there and have your dogs or your cats vaccinated annually, et cetera? Maybe if you could just expand on that just a little bit. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And through you, Chair. So our wellness programs, they started up earlier this year. So as we've been just getting them rolling, I think we've been moving on those for about just shy of 3 months now altogether. And so the programs themselves, yeah, so essentially, Yvette, what it is an opportunity for folks, whether they have a veterinarian or don't, they can come in and get these vaccines and get these supports. So it covers the full broad range. What we're seeing directly out of the services that we're providing is that about 95% of the customers that are coming in to utilize us don't have access to a veterinarian. or can't get access to a veterinarian, right? Cost is a big implication as well. As you know, the cost of vet care is just continuously increasing. So the way that we're able to kind of pull down those costs a little bit is that we provide those direct services. There's no additional overhead associated with it aside from the veterinarian and our staff. We just push forward the cost of the medications and a little bit of the staff time back to the consumer, right? Or back to the resident from that perspective. So that's how we keep the accessible piece of it in place. And so we've only been offering that on Fridays as of right now, but starting up in July, we're going to be accessing the ability to do it on Wednesdays and Fridays with the intention for the program to expand into 4 to 5 day services.
Seeing no other questions, thank you again, Sean, for coming and giving us that update with regards to the township's uptake. And yeah, look forward to continuing to working forward and get the annual update next time. But nice to hear we're not a drain on your resources, but a mid-sized to small-sized utilization of you. So we appreciate that and the kind words about what that represents for the population. So with that, we're looking to just receive the delegation for information moved by Councilor Burns, second by Councilor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Thanks again for joining us today. Cheers. Next item on the agenda is 8.1, but the delegate is informally not able to join us today, so the delegation's been withdrawn. So we move on to 8.2, which is Rob Kolbeck and Yogesh Kumar from Nexus Energy. Just Yogesh? Okay, Yogesh, come forward to the podium and it's all yours.
I'm Yogesh. I'm a project manager from Nexus Energy. So I'm here to introduce introduce you guys to a best project that Nexus intend to develop in the municipality. Next slide, please. So Nexus is a Canadian company headquartered in Toronto. We have managed in total of 108 megawatts of various technologies, and we have delivered 193 megawatt of energy storage projects in our experience. Next slide. So in total, we have developed more than 17 facilities with a total capex of $500 million. The project size varies between 1 megawatts to 20 megawatts, and the total number that we have developed is 110 megawatts. Next slide. So the projects that we developed in our history has been in Ontario, New York, California, and Texas. The need for the project. So currently IESO forecast a demand in the electricity supply, and they wanted to ensure that the Ontario rate players have an affordable and a reliable supply of electricity, which is why they have come up with an RFP where they are requesting 600 megawatts of BESS projects or energy storage projects for this year. In total, they are targeting 1,600 megawatts of power generation through storage in the next 4 years. The current demand is for 600 megawatts for this year, and they require the project size to be minimum 1 megawatt with 8 hours of continuous dispatch. Next slide, please. So BESS projects. So BESS projects is being installed all over the world. In total, there are 80,000 megawatts of BESS projects installed by 2030 across the globe. BESS enables storage of the energy during peak time, and it discharges the energy when there's a demand for the energy on the grid. It uses lithium-ion carbonate batteries. It supports grid stability because it charges during the low peak time and it discharges during the peak time. It reduces the cost of rate taxpayer by reducing reliance on the natural gas or any other form of electric generation plant by using the stored energy and dispatching the stored energy. It also provides as an alternative to build new transmission line, and it also helps reduce greenhouse gases. Next slide, please. So how BESS work? BESS work by charging the cells by using the source of energy which is already present, which can be hydro, wind, solar, natural gas. It charges the batteries using the surplus energy that's being generated during the off-peak time. It stores the energy in its cells, and it uses a BMS, which is a battery management system, which optimizes the battery, and it keeps the battery in good health, and it discharges the battery when there's a peak demand, and it helps stabilize the grid by doing that. Next slide, please. The life cycle of a BESS is first to land acquisition. Currently, we require a land of around 0.5 to 1 acre for the size of the project that we require. For the RFP, we will require municipal support letter, where we will come to the municipality and ask for a support letter, and we will work with the municipality on getting the support letter. Once the RFP is completed and the results are back in July, we will apply for the interconnection at the distribution utility, and then we will start permitting for the municipal and the environmental permits with the municipality. Once we have the interconnection from the utility and we have all the necessary permits, we will start the construction of the project. The project is to be built by 2030 as per IESO guidelines. So what are the major components of a BESS? So the major components of a BESS is a BESS rack, which consists of multiple battery packs and one high voltage box. The high voltage box is a box which contains the BMU, or the battery management units, and the electrical components to manage and protect the entire battery rack. Each battery rack consists of individual battery cells placed all together, which charges when we charge the BESS. There is also a thermal management system to keep the whole container cool or at the optimum temperature where the BESS needs to be. And there's also a fire suppression system installed in the BESS, which includes gas, smoke, temperature, sound, and light detector. It uses arsenal as a fire suppressant for the thermal runway, and it also has some sprinkler system for the water. So we currently are looking to develop a 5 megawatts to 10 megawatt project, which equates to 40 to 80 megawatt hour. The project will require half to 1 acre of land, and it will interconnect to the local distribution system. And the COD, or the construction complete, has to be done by 2030 as per IESO guidelines. Each project will consist of 30 to 40 modular containers. Each container is going to be a 20-feet container, which is going to be outdoor rated, and it will look like a shipping container, and which will be connected to the local distribution line. Apart from the containers, it's also going to include a medium voltage transformer and inverters. As for the safety of these BESS equipments, each BESS component is equipped with fire suppression system, which have all the sensors to start up the suppression system in case of any fire. Next slide, please. So then, as I discussed, the need for the project is to satisfy IESO's forecast and to satisfy the RFP requirement of the IESO. And that's why we are over here, in order to get the project developed in the municipality. And we wanted to introduce the project before we start the land acquisition work in the municipality. As part of our plan, we will also engage with the community. We're going to have a community engagement plan for this project. As a part of our municipal support letter, we will host website where we will have the project details, and we'll update on the project activities, and also we'll have a FAQ section where we will answer all the questions which have been provided by all the stakeholders of the project. We will also do a public community meeting, and we'll post the notice of the public community meeting on the website. We will have an in-person public community meeting where we'll educate all the members of the community and stakeholders about the project, and all the minutes of the meeting will be posted on the website, and all the questions and the answers will be posted on the website. Next slide, please. So I wanted to emphasize on the fire protection system, because that's a debate on the BESS system right now because of some of the fires on EV cars and e-scooters. So I wanted to explain that there's a difference between EV cars, e-scooters, and a BESS system. BESS system is made with a fire suppression system, which includes 2 heat detector, 3 smoke detector, 2 combustible gas detector, 6 RSN container, 1 fire control panel, and an outside firefighter pipe. And it also has an oral and a visual alarm system. So the biggest issue with batteries is thermal runaway, because once it starts to fire, the temperature is so high that it cannot be extinguished with the water, which is why each BESS container has 6 aerosol inbuilt, which is going to be sprayed in case of any emergency required, which suppresses the fire caused by thermal runaway. Next slide, please. So as you can see, this is a map of a BESS container. It shows the location of each and every component. There is a firefighting pipe. It also shows the location of the smoke detector. Each aerosol container is going to be 500 grams. There are going to be 6 aerosol containers over the batteries, in total 3 kilograms of aerosol. There's going to be smoke detector, heat detector, and also hydrogen detector. The image on the right shows the flowchart of how the fire suppression system works. It also talks about how the how much time will it take for the suppression system to work from any of the sensor which get activated due to any issues on the BESS system. Next slide, please. So I'm here to answer any question that you have. Currently, we are looking for your guidance on land acquisition and also to understand where the municipality stands in terms of BESS projects.
Okay, thank you for that delegation. Questions, members of council? Councilor Vern.
Through the chair, there's a lot of questions and I'm having trouble understanding you on some of them, so I'll go through it. But these systems, you have 17 supposedly running right now. I guess they're all small ones because there's only a total of 110 kilowatt output. So they can't be very large. What I am concerned about is why they need such a large footprint on the ground, these modulars. Why can't they be stacked? Why do they have to be separated and take up so much of a carbon footprint, if you want to use that terminology? If they're modular, why can't they be stacked?
Through the chair, there are some electrical standards that has to be adhered to, which does not allow to stack BESS containers over each other. They are like National Electrical Code, which does not allow BESS to get stacked. They have to be placed with a certain distance as per the electrical standard code. BESS is the generation facility which takes the least amount of footprint. A 10 megawatt solar project will take around 10 acres of land, whereas 10 megawatt of BESS projects will technically take less than half an acre, around half an acre. So we are looking for at least 1 acre of the land.
So just as an extension of that same question, so I didn't get the clear understanding from the presentation. So are you looking for us to provide land, or are you looking to purchase land? Like how does this, the land existing and your technology and what you're proposing, how are you, like, it's not very clear. I'm not sure if you're looking for parcels that have a proximity that I'm not aware that we own. So, and then you would have, obviously, most of the parcels adjacent to that would be agricultural lands, which I don't think our zoning would permit at this time for this potential use. I know there's been changes in the higher levels of planning legislation that might oversee that, but we'll be going through our OP in the next couple of years, hopefully sooner than later. So I'm just not quite clear what your company's role is other than what you do, but do you purchase land for this purpose, or how does that interaction work?
So most of the time we lease land from landowners. We have a yearly lease where we pay them yearly, and the lease runs from 20 to 30 to 40 years, depending on the life cycle of the project. Currently, I am here to introduce the project to the mayor and through mayor to the council, because historically it has been noted that when a company comes in and try to meet with the landowners without informing the municipality, and the landowner directly going to the municipality and letting them know that we have been approached without the municipality knowing about a company coming into the municipality, has been a negative impact on the company and the project, which is why we wanted to come to the municipality first, discuss the project with the municipality first. We wanted to understand how the municipality sees this kind of technology, and if municipality is okay with us going out and procuring land for the project.
Got it. So this is sort of an informal introduction, just putting it on the radar that there's obviously interest from your standpoint about the area with the hydro corridor. I mean, that makes some sense, I guess. And then there's a lease exchange. This is how it works. It probably wouldn't be with the township, but you would need, in order for you to be able to engage in a lease with a property holder, it would need to be an accommodation or a feasibility for such technology or such a development to be occurring on those lands. So Matt, maybe the planning perspective, maybe I didn't ask this ahead of time, so apologies for putting you on the spot, but specifically with the agricultural lands that surround the majority of that corridor, am I right in assuming that our land, I know there's lots of evolutions with new tech and new requirements and transition, but can you maybe speak to, from a zoning standpoint, if where we would stand with that specifically for agriculture?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the specific size requirement is really the crux of what would and wouldn't be. So what alternative energy sources can be defined as an on-farm diversified use. So they are permitted, not solar energy, but the rest of them are permitted in prime agricultural land as long as it's less than 2% of the total lot. If it's more than that, then it's no longer a non-farm diversified, and they actually would lose points based on taking up agricultural land.
So as always with planning, it's nuanced to every parcel has its own nuances, even though there's generic rules for them. Okay, very good. Councillor Nacho.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Two questions. One, can you tell me from like your meeting with us today to the final days of production and capacity and you're providing it and everything, how long a time frame does that take? And the second question is, can you give me an example of somewhere in like the closest to us that currently has one of these storage facilities, so that maybe if I wanted to go to look at one, I could see what it looks like?
Through the chair. So I can elaborate on the whole timeline. So let's assume we apply for the RFP this year. The RFP is going to be running every year, this year, next year, the year from that. For the RFP, we require land and a municipal support letter. If we are able to achieve the municipal support letter and the land by end of this year, we can apply the RFP this year. The results of the RFP will come in July next year. And once we receive the results of the RFP and if our project gets selected in the RFP, we will start the permitting and the interconnection work. As per IESO, we have to build the project by 2030. So all the permitting work and all the construction work has to be done before or by 2030. The RFP or the PPA as per the RFP is going to run for 20 years. So the project will run till 20 years or by 2050. Which is the last date for the project. After that, there is an option at that time, understanding with the IESO if they want to go merchant or do you want to continue with the shorter PPA. But the project will start generating electricity if selected this year for the RFP by 2030. If we somehow miss the deadline for this year, then it's going to be 2031. And I think. And to answer the second question, PUI recently got an approval on a BESS project located right in front of the Dobbin substation. They have a solar project there. And last year they get the municipal support letter for that project. So the closest one will be built at that solar facility. Apart from that, I had to go and research which is going to be the closest one. I don't know the closest one. I know there's some in Oshawa, some in other areas, but I'll have to research the closest one and I can send that info. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Huntley and then Councillor Byrne.
Through you, Chair, a couple questions. At one point you said that these will be generating electricity. I don't think they technically generate electricity, do they? They just store generated electricity until it's drawn upon. So you can clarify that one for me. My next question is, once it's drawn upon, how much capacity, like in terms of time, does it take to deplete these things? Like if it was a primary source of energy during whatever period of time. And then third, is there a preferred type of location you're looking for these things? Like, can they exist in urban settlements, or do they have to be out in, kind of rural areas by themselves? Like, is there any preference, or is as long as you got an acre and you're good to go? Thank you.
Through the chair, answering the first question, yes, I'm sorry about that. It's not generating, it's storing the electricity. I might have misspoken about that. So when there's low peak, there's still electricity generated by all the plants like wind energy or nuclear plant or hydro, which goes to waste because there's no demand for that or there's no requirement. So what BESS does is they store the excess amount of energy and it stores it in the cells. The BESS system that we're going to employ can deplete the whole BESS in 2 hours, but the IESO required the continuous dispatch for 8 hours. So it's going to be a 10 megawatt dispatch per hour for 8 hours, which will make it an 80 megawatt hour project. So as per IESO, the range for the dispatch has to be 8 hours. And I'm sorry, I forgot the second question. Can you repeat, please? Through the chair. So we are planning to interconnect with the distribution line. We are not looking for a high transmission line. So any site which is not on wetlands, which does not have any environmental impact and is on a distribution line can be used for the project. We can put the project on the urban areas too, but I don't believe the municipality will approve it because of its proximity to residential areas and the other areas. So it has to be in an area where there's some, setbacks with the residents, and it also does not impact any municipal or zoning conditions.
Council Byrne? Ms. Hurley, yeah. Council Byrne, then Ms. Hurley has any clarity.
Through the chair. So the modular unit, what's the actual output of that? And I'm assuming that this is a standalone unit that nobody's going to be there maintaining. It's all going to be computerized. And you're going to tie into the local transmission lines. How is this system supposed to realize when the transmission lines need that extra power? And when does it kick back off from the storage side of things? And then if the power goes out on the transmission lines because of a problem, what good is this battery backup storage facility? And what's going to power the cooling units, or I'm going to have to guess heating units in the wintertime to keep these lithium batteries useful? Like what happens to all that system when the transmission lines just fail for some other reason?
So the chair, each unit is a 20 feet unit. Depending on the OEM or the manufacturer that we buy, one unit can have from 3.5 to 5 megawatts. So if we are using a 5 megawatt system, since it's 80 megawatt hour that we require, we have to install around 100 megawatt hour, which equates to around 20 to 22 containers. And if it's a 3.5 megawatt container, it's going to be roughly between 30 to 40 containers. Regarding the need for the power to go out, BESS is a solution to this problem that is there with Hydro One. BESS stores the energy so that if there is a outage, it can provide electricity to the local distribution so that all the services that are locally can work. So this is an alternative that Hydro One itself acknowledges in case of there's an outage, because it has stored energy in it. And also it's the load for the HVAC are depending on the OEM can be parasitic, which means that it uses the stored energy to function itself. So it has like capacity of, let's say, 100 megawatt hour. So it will use some of the energy that's stored to run the air conditioning and the heating, or it can be a distribution line coming out, or a separate line coming out of the distribution line to run the HVAC. It depends on the manufacturer and how the Hydro One or the distribution company requires.
Follow up on that.
Yes, through the chair. So what is the cost of hydro inside of this complex if you built it just to run the heating and cooling during a normal period of maybe a month or whatever? Like how much drain are you putting on the already taxed hydro grid just to keep this facility able to function? And then what am I looking at in your guess of what the lifetime of these lithium batteries are going to be?
So each manufacturer has a different load demand. So it's bare minimum compared to the size of the project. So each project is like 10 megawatts. You have stored 80 megawatts, and the requirement is going to be less than or will be in kilowatts. So it's or in watts. So the requirement will be bare minimum compared to the size of the project and the benefit of the project. I can provide you with the exact calculation of the parasitic load, but it will be not an accurate number because the manufacturer can change depending on the development of the project. So that answers the first question. I think the second question was regarding, sorry, I forgot the second question. So each lithium batteries don't stop at a time. It's a degradation curve. So the capacity, let's say if we install 100 megawatt on day one, but after 5 years, the capacity will reduce to 96 megawatt hour. So there is a reduction in the capacity. The life goes on until 20 years, and after that, let's say the capacity has reduced to 80 megawatt hour of that 100 megawatt hour stored, but it still be able to store and deliver electricity. The degradation curve of each BESS depends on the manufacturer, but there is no lifetime. It's a degradation curve on lithium carbonate batteries.
Okay, I've got Counselor Edgerton and then Counselor Natchez. And then Ms. Hurley.
To you, Mr. Chair, the speaker here. These battery packs are lithium, and lithium does not get a good track record when they get on fire. Is that going to be a big expense to our local fire department to get special equipment and special training to handle these things?
Chair, there has been cases where there were fire on BESS sites in history, and there's also a lot of issues with the EV cars and e-scooters. The difference between those and this project is the technology has modified, and now we have UL 855 standard, and there's a CSA standard on fire, which each of these component will adhere to. And most of the issues with fire on a lithium battery is due to the thermal runaway. EV cars and I believe e-scooters do not have a mitigation for thermal runaway, but I cannot say it like with 100% confidence because I have not researched on it. But our system will have 6 containers of aerosol, which will suppress any fire due to thermal runaway. As a part of the permitting, as per IESO, we as a developer is obligated to train individual fire departments on how to mitigate in any case of fire. So we will provide training and education to the fire department on how to extinguish a fire if it happens.
Counselor Natchez.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just to touch upon Councillor Edgerton's point here, I'm just reading more information about this. And so you were saying that you have the fire suppression systems in place. So just as recent as January of 2025 in California, there was a massive fire at one of these plants. 1,500 residents were displaced for a long period of time. There was toxic gases that were released into the community. So there's no like guarantees, even though you do have the fire suppression systems in place. And maybe obviously from what I'm looking at, this looks like a much larger facility than what you were proposing to have here in our community. What would the liability be for if some, catastrophic incident were to happen in our community and we have to evacuate? Is your company taking on the responsibility of supplementing and reimbursing the community for all of our costs? And how does that typically work? I know that, this is not what you hope for, but obviously you need to plan for.
To the chair. So I have to go back on this one and understand what the insurance liabilities are on this project. So each project will have insurance against each and every impact that it can have. And I don't know how much it will cover, but there will be a coverage by insurance on different aspects of the issues on the project. But this is something that I have to go and like I cannot comment on the meeting right now on these, but we can discuss this in detail if required. Also, the size of the project that we are developing is very small compared to the one in California. Those are like 200 megawatt. Around 800 megawatt hour projects, or even the one being developed nearby. Like there's a 200 megawatts, 400 megawatt hour battery being developed very close by from here. So our project is very small, and that's one of the reasons it's not stacked on each other. There's a spacing so that even if in case there's a fire, only one container is getting fired and it's not spreading around.
Ms. Hurley.
Thank you. Through to you, Chair. I just wanted to let everyone know that we have reached out to IESO to see if they could come and make a presentation. And I think it's important that I know you're the first that made a presentation with us today, but we have had a lot of inquiries recently regarding battery storage and different companies coming forward. So I think in all fairness, I just want to let you know that I think we just, as these companies are going to continue to come forward, because they got a timeline for their RFP and a timeline that they have to hit, that you have a better understanding and give as much education to you as you possibly can before making a decision whether you support or not support, because part of this condition is that you need a municipal support for them to move forward. So I just wanted to let you know that our clerk has reached out already. So we are going to bring them forward to ask, maybe to answer some of these questions that you might have, especially a lot of the questions. I mean, I've got quite a few myself, but I think I'll save that for them to come and at that time. So there isn't anything that you need to do at this time except to receive at this time.
Council Byrne?
Through the chair, I appreciate that, but since I got you in front of me, I'll take the advantage of asking these questions in case I don't get another chance. So your claim is that you have better suppression, but they're the same lithium batteries that have been a problem in other devices. Like we had a thing on the subway in Toronto with a electric bike. We've had fires in the township for electric vehicles. They're the same lithium batteries. You're just claiming that you have a better suppression that might keep it from thermal runaway or contaminating one of the other devices. The other big issue I have, the fire is bad enough. It's the runoff into the groundwater from the chemicals that come out of this lithium when it's burning in a ball of fire. That's a long-term thing. And I don't see anything here that even looks like it's set up to catch anything that might seep into the ground.
The chair, in case of the e-scooters or EV cars, that's a different technology than ours. This container are specifically built for the purpose of storing energy, which is why they have a fire suppression system. I will not comment on the EV cars or e-scooters because that's not like I don't want to comment on those ones. But these systems comes with a suppression system which adhere to the standards by the Canadian Standard Authority and have a UL certification for the fire. The CSA standard is also being used by the Ontario firefighters or the Canadian firefighters to study and understand how the fire works on a project like this. Regarding any seepage during fire, most of the time, if there is a fire, most of the chemical will burn off in a BESS system. But we will do an ESA phase 1 on the project, and I believe we will carry an insurance on any adverse thing that can happen to a project.
Yeah, I think Councilor Burns, position still stands. I mean, it's great to have insurance. I mean, it's a necessary evil sometimes, depending on who you ask and what the circumstance is. But I think the concerns we have as municipal stewards is, you can't take that burning chemical back in. Like you can't take it out of the air and you can't take it out of the water. And so those are things that we have to be cautious of. I think there's lots more information to garner from these systems. And, I think it's a burgeoning technology that is improving every time. And I'm sure it's better than the previous generations of lithium tech, but it's still, very noxious materials that we're dealing with in these sorts of systems and these sorts of technologies. So we just have to be really apprehensive and assured about the securities and the steps taken to make sure that those as much protections and eliminations of risk can be done. Ms. Hurley?
Thank you, Chair to Council. Just another question. When you mentioned about the 1 acre parcel of land that you're looking for, close proximity, is there requirements like for setback? You have to have a certain setback from residential or, residential lands, or is there a close proximity to highway, close proximity to, hydro wires? Like, is there a certain acreage that you're looking for, or what your requirements are for that?
Through the chair, this project is a 10 megawatt project, which when built will take less than 1 acre. We will lease minimum of 1 acre so that we can meet all the setbacks requirements by the electrical code. by the zoning bylaws and also with the recommendation by the Hydro One. We have to make sure that all the setbacks are taken care of, which is why we will lease minimum 1 acre, and we will have all the setbacks as required by the Hydro One zoning bylaws and from the residential, from the highways when we are designing the project. And the project will need access to the road in order to, like each project need an access to the road from where the tap onto the distribution line will go. So there's going to be a distribution line running across the road and we're going to tap into the distribution line. We're going to bring in our line either overground, underground, depending on the design and the location, and to the project site where there's going to be a transformer, and the transformer is going to be connected to each module of the BESS.
Deputy Mayor, and then Councilor Byrne.
Through you, Chair, to, I don't know, maybe clerk or, I'm not sure which one, but when you're talking about the letter that's required for IESO, is it a letter that the township is willing to entertain these technologies, or is each individual company that's willing to put a RFP and needs a specific letter? Just curious on whether it's a blanket that the township does, or whether it's every single company.
Ms. Hurley?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. And I think, to be fair, I don't want to answer that question. I know what I believe to be maybe in that direction, but I think we're better off to ask them directly to get a very clear direction on what they're looking for municipalities to do. I think it's a really good question.
Councilor Byrne?
Through the chair, on page 23 of your presentation, at least 23 on my paperwork, kind of looks like there's solar panels at the top. I'm guessing they're just venting for these modulars, which leads me to the next question. If these things are so green and they're going to save the planet and all the rest of it, we're already using up this huge footprint for the storage area. Why aren't there solar panels above these things utilizing the same space? If we're going down that road thinking we're going to save the planet, why aren't we doing more?
So everything that you see on the top are vents for the heat to go out. Solar panels do not go onto the containers. If there's a project which requires solar, the solar is going to be separate to the BESS. You will see where all the green areas, you will see solar panels over there, which will connect to the BESS system. There's no system available which has solar panels on top of the container. There is no system available, and which is why, yeah.
Okay, well, there's lots more information on this, kind of evolving rapidly technology. So we'll look for ISEO to, provide some information. And I'm sure, as Yvette mentioned, there's been lots of solicitations. So yours is just the first of many. So we'll keep doing that due diligence. But right now, we're just looking for a motion to proceed the presentation. Moved by Councilor Byrne, seconded by Councilor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Thanks very much. And we'll look forward to speaking with you down the road. Oh, sure.
I just wanted to understand if municipality is okay with us contacting landowners, because historically some municipalities stopped us from contacting landowners for leases until they have, more knowledge on the project.
We're in the latter category. We're not endorsing or allowing, permitting any sort of, I don't think there's anything that's prohibiting you from having conversations independently, but we're not certainly endorsing them at this time. We have, as Matt mentioned, there's a lot of planning discussions that need to understand and the nuances in these locations. And I think council's raised a lot of concerns about the environmental stewardship and, ensuring that we understand fully, the potential contaminations and pollution, I guess, risks of, in the event of emergencies. And that's what we're waiting to hear more information on. So we'll continue on in that endeavor at this time. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is 9.1, the minutes of the regular meeting held June 2nd. Any issues with those minutes? If not, we'll take a mover and a seconder to receive those or approve them as presented. Moved by Councilor Byrne, seconded by Councilor Edgerton. All in favor? Those are approved as presented. Next, we move to the report section of the agenda, which is Ms. Pope up first for finance actual to budget January to March 2025. Ms. Pope.
Thank you, Council. This is the actual to budget. In the actual report, it actually has a summary of the details in comparison to previous year, as reported last year as well. Just for information purposes, all departments remain within budget, and the capital is of course not presented in Q1. That will be coming in Q2.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Questions with regards to any elements of the report? Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Ms. Pope, I was just curious in the Parks and Recreation, for our property we purchased over near the airport there on Moncrief. We have no cost to date, and no in the last 3 months. I just wondering, do we still owe taxes to the county and to the school board on that property? And are we paying security for any of that property at all?
I don't know. Ms. Pope or Ms. Hurley? I'm not sure who would like to answer that one. Ms. Pope.
That would be a capital purchase, so that'll be on the capital page when you see it next quarter. And as far as property taxes, when we have properties that are securely just for municipal purposes, they are registered as exempt with MPAC, but that does take time. And there's a recovery when there's after the fact where it backdates that information.
Thanks, Ms. Pope. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are just receiving that budget report for this period for information. Motion to receive, Councilor Byrne, Councilor Natchoff seconding, all in favor, that is approved. Next, 10.2, Ms. Pope, you're still with us. Tax levy, special services levy, and BIA bylaws.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Council, we have all the bylaws for levying the taxes this year, which includes education, county, and the municipal taxation. These are the bylaws processed for the tax bills that are being generated this week and will be in the mail the first week of July to our residents.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Any questions with regards to these bylaws? Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Ms. Pope, it's no financial impact, so I'm thinking there's no changes in any of these rates for any of these operations. What I am curious about, and I should have asked probably a year ago, how do we collect a lot of money. We're like $23 million that we collect, and then we distribute that back to the county or the school board, depending on. When we're charging 1.25% interest on late payments or whatever, I get it that we're trying to scare people to do the right thing. How often do we pay the county their share or the school board their share? And that money that gets collected for that fee, a fine or whatever you want to call it, the 1.25%, how does that get divvied up between the three parties, or does that cover the costs, or does it create an excess?
Ms. Pope.
Thank you. Through the mayor. It's actually a couple of key components that you've identified there. So number one, we collect for all areas. So we have the county, the education, and municipal. We remit quarterly, regardless if we received the funds or not. So that's an accounts receivable. But if we have charged out those fees, so the revenues, we have to submit them in advance. So if someone is in default, they're in default with this municipality for the entire amount. We have to pay county and education regardless if we receive the money. So therefore, when we are charging those interest fees, they are for us because we are the ones carrying the burden and the administration of those fees.
Pope. Any other questions? If not, the recommendation is that we receive these for information and approve the tax rate levy, special services levy, and BIA bylaws, including the schedules as attached as per the Municipal Act 2020. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councilor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. 10.3, Ms. Pope and Ms. Page, who would like to take the reins of the schedule and the capital and operating budget timetable? Ms. Pope, still with you.
Thank you. Through you to Council. As you recall, last year we tested out a new format to bring the first budget forward to you in November. Just with the timeline, the scheduling this year, we have moved it back to December. So just to bring that to light. Therefore, our first meeting will be December 11th. However, our second meeting will be January 15th with the opportunity for public to attend. And we hope to be able to pass the budget by February the 2nd, which is only a few days later than last year. We've also indicated this year in preparation of 2026 that we're likely to have the special budget meeting on December 17th, and therefore we've added it to the schedule as well. That's the budget timeline, and also attached is the revised 2025 and the new 2026 council schedule as per the clerk, and attached here as well.
Anything to add, Ms. Page? Seeing none. Okay. Questions with regards to the report and the timetable and the schedule? Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Kimberly. If we go into lame duck in the fall of 2026 because the election comes up, is that going to impact the scheduling at all, or is that going to maintain that?
Page?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Byrne and the rest of council, there will be no impact on that.
So 3 recommendations in the report: approving the 2026 capital and operating budget timetable, approving the council meeting schedule, and council approving the amendment of the 2025 council meeting schedule to add the special budget meeting for Thursday, December 11th, starting at 9 a.m. Can I get a mover and a second for all those recommendations? Moved by Deputy Mayor Hunley, seconded by Councilor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you. Next, 10.4, report, Public Works, Frederick Street reconstruction, Mr. Hancock and Mr. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council. Before you, we have Public Works Report 2025-10 with recommendations for the Frederick Street reconstruction tender T-PW-25-03. The first recommendation is that council reject all tenders and terminate the tender procurement process for the T-PW-25-03 Frederick Street reconstruction. And recommendation 2 is that council approve the rollover of the funds allocated in the 2025 Public Works capital budget for the Frederick Street reconstruction project to be used for future road reconstruction in the 2026 Public Works capital budget. When we did receive the tenders for this project, they were significantly higher than what we had budgeted for this project. It was a little bit of, there were 2 issues. First is the market change in the recent months. We have seen that there was an increase in cost for certain material, as well as during the detailed design phase, there were scope changes that weren't necessarily budgeted for when we were going through the budget process, which would increase the cost. But at this time, the difference in what we have budgeted and the results for the tenders are too significant to move forward with this year.
Thanks for that summary, Drew. Questions, members of council, with regards to the report? Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Drew, those scope changes, I was going to try to figure out a word to use it. Are they significant? Are they necessary? Are they something that's we're going to look at trying to take care of as we go forward? Like, what are we actually looking for that we didn't plan on?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Byrne. The main scope change during the design was we were planning to urbanize this section of road. It is a rural cross section, so ditches and culverts. We were planning to put a storm sewer in. Part of the reason is currently the drainage goes through an easement on private property. So we were trying to avoid the easements going on private property, and we were bringing the storm to Ann Street and then to the south. Because of that, it was an increase of pipe, which would increase the cost. So we are hoping to revise the drawings to see if there are different options that we could utilize instead of the current design.
Thanks, Drew. Questions, other members of council? Sorry, this isn't a public report or a public meeting. We'll defer it to another consideration with that, or if you'd like to send it. Thank you for that. Thanks. Questions, members of council, Deputy Mayor Hunley.
Through you, Chair. Was there an expiry date on the tenders that came in? Like, would they be valid into next year, or are they? Is there a point canceling them?
Through you, Chair, to Deputy Mayor Huntley. I believe it's a 30-day expiration on these tenders, so we would have to re-tender in the process or the next year when we're planning to complete the project.
Other questions? If not, there's two recommendations in the report that the council reject all tenders and terminate the tender procurement process for TPW-25-03 Frederick Street reconstruction, and the council approve the rollover of the funds allocated in the 2025 Public Works capital budget for the Frederick Street reconstruction project to be used for future road reconstruction in the 2026 Public Works capital budget. Any issues with any of those motions? If not, we'll look for a mover and a seconder for those two recommendations of the report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Next on the report is the hot mix asphalt tender. And I don't know if Wayne or Drew is going to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council. Before you, we have Public Works Report 2025-11 with recommendations for the hot mix asphalt tender T-PW-25-04. The recommendations before you are as follows. The first recommendation is that council award the hot mix asphalt tender T-PW-25-04 to 2618018 Ontario Inc. D-Rock Paving for the amount of $177,196 with the HST of $22,515.48. The total tender amount with net municipal HST is $176,244.25. And recommendation 2 is that council approve the provisional item Wilson Line overlay and curb replacement for the amount of $57,400 with HST of the amount of $7,462. The total amount with net municipal HST is $58,410.24. And recommendation 3 is that council approve a 10% contingency in the amount of $23,465.45 for this project. The total amount for approval, including contingencies, is $258,119.93. Just on D-Rock Paving, the township hasn't done work with them in the past. We have reached out to the references they provided, and we have received positive feedback from their references. So we are hopeful that the new contractor will do good work in the township.
Thanks for that, Drew. Questions with regards to the tender? Nice to see that came within budget. Unlike, it's always nice to see that. Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair to Drew. When it comes to the Wilson line, you're just going to repair the damaged curbing. I'm guessing we're going to put asphalt curbing back in those sections that got damaged this last winter. The one thing I'd really like to make sure of, and I don't know if it's been looked at, the entranceway to the west side of the 13th Wilson line has a very wide mouth because of the layout, the configuration that it matches up with County Road 10. Is that going to be maintained? Because that's kind of critical to that intersection. You were talking one time in the past when I asked, you were talking about grinding off a portion of what the asphalt is there and laying fresh asphalt over. I'm just wondering if that's been taken into account, that wide mouth entrance is going to be maintained.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Byrne, we will be maintaining the existing width of the entrance to Wilson Line there. And yes, we will be trying to save curb in the areas that we can, and then replacing the curb that has been damaged.
Thanks, Drew. No other questions? We're looking for a mover and a seconder for those three recommendations in the report. Moved by Councillor Edgerton, seconded by Councillor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. CAO and capital status, Ms. Hurley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to council. The report is before council, or if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Seeing none, can I get a motion to, Councillor Byrne, question?
Through the chair to Ms. Hurley, on page, what part of this? Anyways, it's talking about the reconstruction for County Road 10 coming out of Millbrook, heading north past the new fire hall. I'm interested in being part of that process. I don't know how that goes. I know there's going to be public meetings down the road. Is there any opportunity for me as a counselor to get involved with that process earlier than later?
Ms. Hurley?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Byrne, I don't actually know if there's any more involvement except for the public process, but I may defer to Mr. Hancock because he's involved.
Wayne?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think I was talking instead of listening. Could you repeat the question?
Council, with regards to the item on the capital project list, the County Road 10 expansion and further works that the county is undertaking, Councillor Burns asking about opportunities for input or participation of some degree. And I think, as Ms. Hurley mentioned, there is the public meetings, et cetera, and I think that's probably the only avenue, but over to you.
Through Mr. Mayor, I think, first of all, as far as the County Road EA, the discussion we're having on County Road 10, there will be public meetings being held on that. That's what we've agreed to. That will be a latter part of the summer. That's to go through into the fall. So we're having discussions, of course, on how wide the road width is, urbanization, and extent of the works to be completed. Other than that, there is, of course, public inputs welcome anytime as we go through our process.
So potentially Councillor Byrne could set up a meeting with you to provide comments, and Wayne can carry those forward on your behalf. Okay. Another follow-up, Councillor Byrne, another question?
Yes, through the chair. The last item on page 88, the International Tandem Truck. Is that the one we ordered a couple of years ago that's still in the process of being delivered?
Through Mr. Mayor, yes, you're correct. We did order that over 2 years ago. It is, I think, in Canada now, but it's still in production and we won't have it for probably another 2 to 3 months.
Now, what about the harnessing and stuff? That was the last hiccup that I heard about. Has that been addressed, or where are we at with that?
Harnessing and those parts are all included in truck purchase. So I think that part of it's probably well under control. I think the issue is just the delivery of the truck and the main package there.
Okay. Thank you for those questions and comments. Can I get a motion to receive the report for information? Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor, that is approved. Committees of council verbal reports. Any updates with regards to the committees that we're serving on that are probably about to take a break for July and August? Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair, I was just going to ask if there's anything coming forward on our fair that we just held. Any reports, any prizes, anything that might influence or let people know about the attendance level or the outcome of the fair overall?
I can, we don't traditionally get a formal report, but I can tell you in 3 of the 4 nights that I was down at the fair speaking with members of the fair board, they were very happy. Obviously, the weather very much played ball this year. They actually needed to add water to the track, which has never been the case before. So they were very happy with the participation and more focused on expansions and further conversations about the 175th next year. So which they're working on, trying to make that a big commemorative celebration for the anniversary. So we'll look forward to that and go from there. Any other councillors? So I have a couple of committee up to you, Councillor. Councillor Edgerton, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, on Thursday, the 19th, we had a Mr. Hack meeting and we discussed on the color and the type of roofing that they would put on the library up here, the old school, if we all know it. That was discussed, and it was also discussed about what they might do with some of the stuff that they were getting out of the Springwood Church if they decide to tear it down.
Thanks for that update. I know Mr. Hack, I sat in for Councillor Edgerton on the previous Mr. Hack meeting, and there's lots of decisions that committee is making with regards to some of the renovations that are underway for the Old Millbrook School. And that came up and is a great segue into my library board meeting report. So we met on Tuesday of last week and discussed a number of things, including some of the decisions that were being made with regards to the composition. I believe there's 17 different light fixtures that people are trying to find a more sort of consistent vibe that will be replaced in regards to the ICIP work being done, as well as the flooring and the roof. So it's nice to hear that some of those decisions from Mr. Hack are moving forward, because there's lots of interest about when the work's going to be scheduled. So we need those decisions before the work can be scheduled to be done, but we're hoping to get most of it done this summer. So assuring the library that there wasn't going to be too much in the ways of anticipated closures was one thing that we discussed. We also discussed some additional works on the evaluating some of the various programs. There's lots of different programs that the library offers and facilitates. And what Carla has worked on with her team is sort of evaluating some of the programs to see if there's a group or an audience that they're missing for certain programs, and then making decisions on maybe replacing a few for a time being or trying something new in a manageable and reportable way. But then most importantly, they have an upcoming retirement of a 20-year employee, Kimberly Lockey, who is a long-serving member of the library team. So we want to thank Kimberly for her 20 years of service and wish her all the best as she continues on in her retirement. So with that, I think that's the extent of my committee updates. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive those for information? Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. There is no unfinished business. There are no notices of motion that have been presented to confirming bylaw, that bylaw number 20. Oh, excuse me, 13.1. I'm a page ahead of myself already. Look at that. Thank you, Miss Page, earning your dollars. On 13.1, Peterborough County Plowmen's Association letter of request. So this is just an annual request about supporting the success of the Peterborough County Plowmen's with our $200 donation, and excited to know that it's being hosted in the township this year at Mr. French's farm. So looking forward to that. So can I get a mover and a seconder to continue that support for the Plowmen's event? Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. Next, bylaws. So bear with me because there's a number of them. That bylaw number 2025-29 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a collective agreement between the Township of Cabmonaghan and the Canadian Union of Public Employees and its local 1306-8 parks, and that bylaw number 2025-30 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a collective agreement between the Township of Cabmonaghan and the Canadian Union of Public Employees and its local 1306-02 Public Works, and that bylaw number 2025-34 being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of the levy and to provide the adoption of tax rates and to further provide for penalty and interest in default of payment thereof for 2025, and that bylaw number 2025-35 being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of special services levy, and that bylaw number 2025-36 being a bylaw to provide for the levy and collection of special charges for the year 2025 in respect of the BIA improvement area. Be read a first, second, third time and passed this 23rd day of June, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate seal attached thereto. Mover for that bylaw. Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. There is no unfinished business now. There is no notices of motion. The confirming bylaw number 2025-37 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting held June 23rd, 2025, be read a first, second, third time and passed this 23rd day of June, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate seal attached thereto. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Next, we need a motion for adjourning today's meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley and seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. This is our last meeting before the August meeting. So we just want to wish everyone a happy summer. And there's a number of upcoming events that we wanted to raise to your attention as well before we depart. Milbert Valley Trails Advisory Meeting is Monday, June 23rd at 4 p.m. So tonight in a few short hours. Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting is Thursday, June 26th at 1 p.m. We have our Canada Day celebration being held at the CMCC on Tuesday, July 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. And we also have the Cavan Monaghan Derby Saturday on July 26th from 4 to 10 p.m. That is at Kawartha Downs. And the next, as I mentioned, regular council meeting is Monday, August 11th at 1 p.m. in the chamber. Wishing everyone a happy and safe summer. Enjoy the township, and we'll look forward to seeing you around town. Cheers.